the wake she left behind. My name is Dana Whitfield. I am 34 years old, and at 10 minutes past midnight on a warm August night, my sister stood on my back porch soaked to the knees, asking me to tell the harbor patrol that I had been the one behind the wheel of our family boat. The bow rail was bent. A long white gash ran down the hull where it had struck something or someone. Her voice shook as she said the swimmer came out of nowhere, that the lake was too dark to see him in time. Then she admitted she had not stopped. She had circled once, seen nothing but ripples, and gunned the throttle toward the marina. Before I could speak, our mother appeared behind her, car keys still in her hand, and said, "Tell them you took the boat out alone tonight." Our father arrived a moment later, using the steady, reasonable voice he saved for asking people to do something he would never do himself. "Your sister has an election in 10 weeks, he said. "You do not have anything riding on this." They still thought of me as the daughter who quit her promising path to disappear into some quiet government job nobody in the family cared to ask about. They did not know that 4 weeks earlier, in a federal building 2 hours from here, I had raised my right hand and sworn to investigate maritime accidents without regard for who was standing on the dock when the sirens arrived. My sister looked past me into my kitchen, at the second-hand furniture and the takeout containers on the counter, and said, "Who exactly is going to believe you over me?" She had no idea the boat's new emergency transponder had already logged the impact, the coordinates, and the exact moment she chose to run. Before I tell you what my family tried next, and what happened when the truth finally walked through my door, tell me, where are you listening from tonight, and what time is it where you are? I want to know how far a story like this can travel. My sister's name is Reagan Whitfield. She is 30 years old, and for as long as I can remember, our parents treated her like the family's one great investment. She was running for a seat in the state Senate that year, her whole platform built around safer neighborhoods and public accountability. Her name was on yard signs up and down our street. Our mother co-chaired her steering committee. Our father, a retired campaign strategist, had spent 3 decades convincing other people's families to trust him with their crises, and he believed every disaster could be managed if you controlled the story fast enough. In the version of our family that existed inside that house, Reagan was the future, and I was the cautionary tale. They told relatives I had drifted after college, that I had given up on something bigger to take some forgettable desk job. In reality, I had finished my training, worked 2 years on regional accident investigations, and had just been sworn in as a federal marine casualty investigator, a position that required me to stay strictly outside the reach of anyone I was related to. Whenever I tried to explain what I actually did, my father would find a reason to bring the conversation back to Reagan. Eventually, I stopped trying. Reagan had asked to borrow the boat that night for a small donor gathering, said she needed something private, away from cameras and reporters trailing her public events. I said yes, because she had asked the same way 100 times before, and because some old habit in me still answered whenever she said, "Dana, I need you, just this once." At 11, she texted that she would bring it back in the morning. At midnight, she was standing in my kitchen, smelling like lake water and champagne. "Tell me exactly what happened," I said. "I already told you." "No," I said. "You told me the version you want repeated." Her fear folded itself into something more practiced, the same composed expression she used in television interviews. "I was coming in slow near the point," she said. "Somebody was in the water. It was too dark to see him until it was too late." "Did you call it in?" "No." "Did you go back?" She looked at our parents instead of me. "I slowed down," she said. "I did not see him again. I figured he swam off." "You left," I said. Our mother tightened her hands around her keys. "This is not the time to interrogate her." "It is not an interrogation," I said. "A man may be badly hurt, and she left him in the water." Our father walked to the window and looked out at the dark yard as if the right words were waiting for him out there. "The boat is registered to the family trust," he said. "That gives us room. You say you took it out alone tonight. We call an attorney in the morning, and we frame it as a low-visibility accident on a dark stretch of water." I stared at him. "You already have a story ready." "I have spent 30 years managing crises," he said. "This is not a crisis," I said. "This is a person." Reagan crossed her arms. "You always make everything sound worse than it is. There is a dent in the hull, Dana. There might be blood on the hull." My mother stepped closer to me and lowered her voice, as though the walls themselves might be listening. "The neighbors do not need to hear any of this." Her first worry was not the man in the water. It was who might overhear us discussing him. My phone buzzed on the counter. A message from the Regional Operations Center. "Emergency transponder activated. Impact detected. Vessel identification confirmed. Do you require assistance?" The new boat had come equipped with a factory safety system, but after a threat connected to a prior case I had worked, my supervising office had quietly added an encrypted tracking and camera unit that triggered automatically on sudden impact. Reagan did not know it existed. I turned my phone face down before anyone could see the screen. My father kept talking as if my agreement was already a foregone conclusion. "The patrol will run the registration," he said. "They will see there has been friction between you and this family before. Reagan will say she called you the moment she heard, panicked, worried you might do something reckless. Your mother and I will confirm it." "You are describing coordinated false statements," I said. "We are protecting our daughter," my mother said. "No," I said. "You are deciding which daughter is expendable." Reagan rolled her eyes. "Was she drinking?" I asked. My father answered before she could. "She was within the limit." "You cannot possibly know that yet," I said. "We know our daughter," he said. They knew her donor list and her preferred camera angle for a press conference. They did not know whether she had been drinking heavily enough to miss a person swimming 20 feet from the bow. Reagan stepped closer to me. "You owe me this," she said. "For what?" I asked. "For leaving," she said. "I stayed. I went to every dinner, smiled at every fundraiser, let them build their whole future around me while you disappeared into whatever it is you actually do. You got to walk away. I got expectations." For a moment I understood exactly how heavy that had been for her. Then she said, "Besides, Dana, you do not have a public reputation to lose." Whatever sympathy had gathered in me quietly closed itself back up. "If it had been someone you loved in that water," I asked her, "would you still be calling this a small mistake?" Nobody answered me. By midnight, my father had moved everyone into my living room and started assigning roles like it was one of his old campaigns. He told my mother to call Reagan's field director and say she had come down with food poisoning at the fundraiser and gone home early. He told Reagan to clear her messages about the boat. Then he held out his hand for my phone. "We need to know what is already circulating," he said. "You mean you want to make sure nothing leaks before your story does," I said. His jaw tightened. "Do not talk to me like I am one of your witnesses." For years he had dismissed my career as some forgettable paperwork job. Now he was irritated that I understood exactly what he was asking me to help him commit. My mother looked at me and said, "Just tell them you thought you clipped a channel marker and did not realize anyone was in the water. People will believe that." "To what people?" I asked. "To normal people," Reagan said. My phone buzzed again, face down on the table. A second message from operations. "Confirming transponder data secure under standard protocol. Advise if local authorities require preservation notice." I typed back that I was safe, that the vessel had been borrowed by a family member, and that no footage should be released except through proper channels. The reply came back within a minute. "Understood. Data locked under preservation hold." I kept both messages to myself. I wanted to see exactly how far my family was willing to go while they still believed the truth belonged only to them. My mother's phone rang around 1 in the morning. She stepped into my kitchen. But the apartment was small enough that we all heard every word. "No, she is here with us," she said. "She left the fundraiser a little early." "Yes, we are sure." Then her voice changed. "A dock camera," she repeated. "How clear is the footage?" Everyone in the room went still. A neighbor near the marina had motion lights wired to a security camera, and someone on Reagan's own staff had already heard whispers that it may have caught part of the impact. Reagan turned on me as if I had installed the camera myself. "Does your building have anything like that?" she asked. "Most marinas do," I said. My father pointed at her. "Then Reagan reports the damage first, before the patrol contacts her. Voluntary disclosure looks responsible." Reagan's panic curdled into anger. "You told me nobody was out there." "I told you I did not see anyone," I said. "What were you doing right before you hit him?" "Nothing," she said. "Were you on your phone?" I asked. "No." "Were you alone at the wheel?" "Yes," she said, too fast. Years of reviewing witness statements had taught me that speed was not always honesty. Sometimes it was rehearsal. My father grabbed a notepad and began sketching a timeline. "Reagan left the marina at 11:15, he said. "The impact happened close to 11:40. She panicked, came straight here. "You told me earlier that she came here after hearing about the accident secondhand," I reminded him. He stopped writing. My mother looked between the two versions on the page. "Which one sounds better?" she asked. That question told me everything. They were not deciding whether to lie. They were only deciding which lie to keep. Then Reagan made a mistake of her own. "Marcus said the water looked clear from where he was standing," she said. The room went quiet. "Who is Marcus?" I asked. "No one," she said. "You told me you were alone," I said. "I misspoke," she said. At 2 in the morning, Reagan's campaign consultant arrived at my door. His name was Marcus Doyle, and the moment I saw the raw scrape along his forearm, I understood exactly why she had insisted she was alone. He was polished and visibly frightened, and married to the daughter of one of Reagan's most important donors. "What is he doing here?" I asked. Reagan would not look at me. "He is helping us handle this," she said. Marcus glanced at the boat keys on my counter. "We need to get ahead of it," he said, before he even looked at my father. "You were on the boat," I said. He hesitated, then nodded once. "I was in the bow," he said. "Reagan had gotten a strange message earlier, and I wanted to make sure she made it back safely." "Had you been drinking?" I asked. "A little," he said. "So had Reagan." My father cut in. "We are not running interviews in this living room." "No," I said. "You are coordinating testimony." Marcus flinched, because unlike the rest of them, he understood exactly how serious that sentence was. "What is it you actually do for the government?" he asked me. Reagan laughed under her breath. "She writes reports," she said. "I write findings," I said. "I investigate maritime accidents. I testify before review boards, and I refer cases for federal prosecution when someone leaves an injured person behind." My mother frowned. "Why are you telling us this now?" "Because you are asking me to help commit crimes while assuming I am too unimportant to recognize them," I said. My father waved a hand as if brushing away something small. "Nobody is asking you to commit a felony," he said. "False statements, obstruction, and coordinated testimony are not registration paperwork," I said. Reagan stepped toward me, her voice cracking. "You think you get to lecture me after what you let me do 2 years ago?" I knew exactly what she meant. During her first campaign internship, she had used my name to sign for storm damage to a rented office space after a party got out of hand. I had paid to fix it quietly because she swore our father would end her career the moment he found out. I thought I was protecting her. Instead, I had taught her that my name was hers to use whenever her own became inconvenient. "You helped me then," she said. "You can help me now." "That was property," I said. "Nobody was in the water." "You lied for me," she said. "Yes," I said, "and it was wrong. I understand now how one small compromise becomes permission for the next." My father latched onto that. "So your principles have limits," he said. "They have a history," I said. "That is different." Reagan's face hardened. "You were happy to be needed back then," she said. "You liked being the one who fixed things." "Is that truly what you believe?" I asked. "I believe you need this family more than we need you," she said. "You do not have a spouse, a public office, donors, any of it. If all three of us tell the same story, who is the patrol going to believe?" Marcus looked at her, alarmed. "Reagan, stop," he said. She ignored him. "Fine," she said. "We say Dana took the boat out after the fundraiser, upset about something, and became erratic when I tried to talk to her." My mother, instead of objecting, asked quietly whether reporting the boat stolen might simplify things. That was the moment I stopped seeing frightened relatives in my living room and started seeing people who had already decided what they were willing to do to survive the night. I walked toward my office. My father followed and reached for my arm. I looked at his hand until he let go, then opened the door. My duty jacket hung on the back of it, my identification badge clipped to the collar. My commission letter sat framed on the desk, beside a photograph from the morning I was sworn in. On the wall was a small brass plaque, "Dana R. Whitfield, Federal Marine Casualty Investigator." Nobody spoke. Reagan stepped closer. "What is all this?" she asked. "My actual job," I said. "You are a federal investigator," she said, like the words did not fit together in her mouth. "I have been for 4 weeks," I said. My mother stared at the photograph. "You never told us any of this." "I told you about my swearing in," I said. "You said you were busy with Reagan's debate prep. I mentioned my first case assignment. You sent me pictures of her yard signs." Reagan looked from the plaque back to me, calculating something behind her eyes. "How long have you known about the transponder?" she asked. "I knew the system logged sudden impacts," I said. "I did not know what it would show until tonight." "You let us talk in front of you," she said. "I did not force anyone in this room to invent a timeline, delete a message, or ask me to lie to law enforcement," I said. "You did that yourselves." I opened the case portal on my laptop. A map appeared, showing the boat's exact path, the impact point, the speed at contact, and a status marker confirming the footage had already been locked under preservation. Reagan's confidence drained out of her all at once. Marcus whispered, "There is camera footage." "Exterior video," I said. "GPS history, throttle data, and audio from the cockpit." My father stared at the screen, then at me. "Audio," he said quietly. "Yes," I said. "You would let this destroy your own sister," he said. "No," I said. "I am refusing to let her destroy someone else and call it family loyalty." By sunrise, the man in the water had been identified as 44-year-old Isaac Morneau, a maintenance worker at the marina who had been swimming laps before his shift. He had a broken collarbone, internal bleeding, and a head injury that kept him unconscious through the night. While his family sat in a hospital waiting room, mine was still arguing about press strategy. That was the moment any hesitation I had left disappeared completely. Reagan hired an attorney named Priya Anand, who arrived by 7 and immediately told everyone to stop talking. She warned my parents that a private family conversation about concealing a crime was not actually private at all. My father objected that it had only been a discussion between family. "Private conversations become evidence," Priya told him, "when they involve planning to mislead investigators." Reagan looked at me like I had personally written that rule into existence. We moved to my parents' house because Reagan was afraid of being photographed near a law office. The hallway there was lined with her debate trophies and old campaign clippings. My own diploma had disappeared from that wall years earlier because my mother said the frame did not match the paint. Investigators arrived at 9 that morning. Priya said Reagan would cooperate fully but only through counsel. They separated us to speak individually. An investigator named Grace Acaffer met with me in my father's study. I identified myself, disclosed my position, and asked for no special treatment whatsoever. I told her what I knew, gave her the case number, and confirmed I had no direct role in reviewing the footage myself. "Did you know she had been drinking?" Grace asked. "Not for certain," I said, though I suspected it. "Why did she need your boat?" she asked. "She said she wanted privacy for a small gathering," I said. Grace opened a folder. "A neighbor's camera puts the vessel leaving the marina at 10:52, she said, traveling well above the posted wake limit before the impact." I kept my voice steady. "I understand," I said. Then Grace added, "Your sister called our office around 6 this morning and suggested you may have taken the boat out after she went home, and that you seemed upset." There it was. Even with the footage locked and waiting, Reagan had still tried to put me at the wheel. "I was in my apartment all night," I said. "My building has entry logs and hallway cameras that will confirm that." After the interview, I found my parents in the dining room. My father shut the door behind me. "You need to correct this," he said. "Correct what?" I asked. "The investigator thinks Reagan deliberately tried to blame you," he said. "She did," I said. "She was frightened," he said. "She was strategic," I said. My mother's voice dropped. "Reporters already know the boat was not home last night," she said. "Then she should suspend her campaign," I said. "Absolutely not," my father said. "A candidate running on public accountability left an injured man in the water and misled the people investigating it." "Allegedly," he added when he saw my face. "I saw the boat," I said. "I heard her tell all of us what happened." My mother lowered her voice further, as though volume alone might change the truth. "You are her sister before you are anything else," she said. "I am both," I said. "Being her sister does not obligate me to lie for her." "You wanted this," my father said. "You could never compete with her publicly, so now you are using your position to humiliate her." "I did not realize we were competing," I said. "You knew what she meant to this family," he said. "Yes," I said. "She was your investment. I was apparently your insurance policy." Reagan walked in then, her eyes swollen. "Priya says the footage could end me," she said. "The footage will show what happened," I said. "Same thing," she said. "No," I said. She looked at our parents. "Tell her," she said. My father said the man was expected to recover, that maybe restitution could soften the public damage. Reagan stepped toward me. "I will pay every medical bill," she said, "but if that recording gets out, everything I have built is finished." "You still think the recording is the problem," I said. "It is the only thing proving you were driving." "I said I was not sure," she said. "You were certain," I said. "You were buying yourself time with my freedom." "You have your career," she shouted. "You have everything now, and because you finally found something that mattered to you, you think I can just afford to lose mine." Shame crossed her face for a moment, but shame is not the same thing as responsibility. "What do you actually want from me?" she asked. "Tell the truth," I said, "without measuring how much of it you can afford." Investigators reviewed the footage that afternoon. I was not present and had not requested access. By evening, Priya announced that Reagan would be providing a corrected statement. The recording was worse than anything Reagan had admitted to. It showed her drinking from a flask tucked beside the console, while Marcus repeatedly told her to slow down. She was checking campaign messages on her phone in the seconds before the boat struck Isaac Morno near a marked swim buoy. Marcus shouted for her to stop and call for help. Instead, she circled once, looked back at the water, and said, "If I stay, this campaign is finished." Then she idled into a quiet cove and called our father through the boat's hands-free line. That call was recorded too. He told her not to use her personal phone and to head straight to my apartment because the boat was registered under my name. He said, "Dana does not have anything to lose. We can put this around her." Investigators returned that evening with warrants for several devices. My father argued the call had been a private family matter. Grace told him no such privilege applied. My mother turned to me and said, "You know how this works, fix it." I told her I would not interfere. Marcus had already surrendered his phone and begun cooperating before Reagan realized what he had done. She called him a traitor. "He told you to slow down," I reminded her. "He is protecting himself," she said. "Exactly what all of you expected me to do for you," I said, while telling me I had no right to protect myself. Reagan gave her corrected statement at the sheriff's office that night. I waited in a separate room as a witness, while the ethics office at my agency arranged for my open cases to be temporarily reassigned. I had done nothing wrong, but the appearance of any connection between my position and a local investigation involving my own family required distance. Late that evening, Grace found me in the hallway. "Your sister has admitted to driving, leaving the scene, and giving false information," she said. "She says your father is the one who suggested nomming you." "He suggested it," I said. She still chose to say it. "Agreed," Grace said. "Isaac Morneau regained consciousness this afternoon." Relief went through me so fast I had to sit down. "He remembers the boat leaving," she said. "His family has asked for privacy." "I understand completely," I said. "There is one more thing," Grace added. "Your sister claims you had the tracking system installed specifically to monitor her." "That is not true," I said. "It was installed months ago after a threat connected to one of my cases. The records will confirm the date." "We already have," Grace said. Even mid-confession, Reagan had tried to make the truth sound like something I had engineered against her. By the time we got back to my parents' house, news vans had gathered at the end of the street. Reagan's campaign announced she was suspending her run for office due to a serious personal matter. Marcus's attorney confirmed he had been a passenger who repeatedly urged the driver to stop. Reagan stood at the window watching the vans. "This is over," she whispered. "My father was on the phone with donors. My mother was quietly deleting old photographs from her community pages. Neither of them said Isaac Morneau's name once that night." I turned off the television. "Stop treating being seen as the worst thing that could happen here," I said. "Easy for you," Reagan said. "You hid your whole life until it became untouchable." "I am not untouchable," I said. "My cases were reassigned today because of what happened in this house. My conduct will be reviewed. My name will be in every article about this. The difference is that I never built my entire identity on the belief that consequences were for someone else." My father hung up his phone. "She has lost her election," he said. "Are you satisfied?" "This is not revenge," I said. "It looks exactly like revenge," he said. "Revenge would be using my position to punish her," I said. I stepped back and let the evidence speak for itself. "You could have destroyed the recording," he said. The room went completely silent. He heard what he had just admitted a full second after he said it. "You are still asking me why I did not commit another crime," I said. "Families are supposed to protect each other. Healthy families protect people from danger. This family protected Reagan from consequences and decided everyone else was expendable." My mother stood up sharply. "Do not speak about us like criminals," she said. "You discussed false statements, deleted messages, and a plan to put my name where hers belonged," I said. "What word would you prefer?" Reagan covered her ears. "Stop," she said. "No," I said. "You wanted me to carry this. Now you are going to hear exactly how heavy it was." My father stepped toward me, then stopped when he noticed the deputy stationed near the front door. "For years you told me I had nothing," I said. "Tonight you used that same imaginary emptiness to decide I was the one who should pay for this. My career matters to me, but even if I had none of it, my life would still not belong to any of you. Reagan whispered, I am sorry. Sorry you hit him, I asked. Sorry you left. Sorry you tried to blame me. Or sorry the recording exists. She had no answer for that. Reagan withdrew from the race the next morning. She was later charged with leaving the scene of an accident causing serious injury, reckless operation of a vessel, and making false statements to investigators. The legal process stretched on for months, but the real consequences arrived immediately. Donors asked for their money back. Community groups quietly removed her name from their materials. Her public image did not collapse because of one accident. It collapsed because the footage showed exactly what she chose to do in every minute after it. Marcus reached a cooperation agreement. He admitted to drinking that night but was never behind the wheel, and investigators confirmed he had urged Reagan to stop and call for help. He lost his position on the campaign and faced consequences of his own. Though he never once tried to shift blame onto me again after the footage came out. My father became a subject of the investigation because of his own recorded instructions. He had spent 30 years treating the truth as something that could be reshaped for the right audience. For the first time, he ran into a system that did not care how convincing he sounded. His longtime clients quietly stopped calling. His professional association suspended him. My mother was never criminally charged, but the board she once sat on no longer treated her word as the final say on anything. To relatives, she said I had betrayed the family by letting private panic become public record. She never once said Reagan hit someone. She said the footage became public. She never said they had asked me to lie. She said I had refused to help. Even then, she still could not describe what happened without somehow making it about the one person who had refused to go along with it. I want to pause here for a second, because if any part of this feels familiar to you, if you have ever been asked to carry a weight that was never yours, I would love for you to stay with us. This channel, Alex, exists for exactly these kinds of stories, the quiet ones about the moment someone finally stops absorbing everyone else's consequences. If that means something to you, consider subscribing, because there are more stories like this one waiting for you here. Isaac Morneau spent weeks in physical therapy. Through his attorney, I sent a private letter expressing regret that my own vessel had been involved, and promising to respect whatever privacy his family wanted. I did not ask for his forgiveness, because it was never mine to request. His wife later thanked the investigators and witnesses who helped preserve the record of what happened. She did not mention me by name, and honestly, I was grateful for that. This was never supposed to be a story about a government investigator doing something remarkable. It was about a man whose recovery had almost been treated as less important than a campaign timeline. My agency completed a full review of my conduct. I disclosed every message, every conversation, and recused myself from any matter connected to the local jurisdiction where it happened. The review concluded I had acted appropriately, though my supervisor reminded me that public trust depends on visible distance, not just private integrity. I returned to my caseload once the review closed. On my first morning back, I stood alone in my office and thought about my sister standing in my kitchen at midnight, asking me to carry something that was never mine to carry. My family believed my badge would become a weapon if I ever revealed it. It did not. The most powerful thing I had that night was simply the ability to say no before I knew whether anyone would stand beside me for it. For most of my life, I confused endurance with loyalty. I thought being the reliable one meant absorbing every inconvenience so someone else's life could stay smooth. Each time I quietly fixed something for Reagan, I told myself I was protecting our relationship. In truth, I was teaching her that her future would always outweigh my boundaries. My silence never bought us peace. It only bought her permission. Reagan wrote to me 3 months later. Her letter talked about campaign pressure, our father's control, our mother's obsession with appearances, and a childhood shaped entirely around being watched. Then she admitted something harder to write. She said she had smiled that night on purpose, asking who would ever believe me, because she wanted me to feel small the way she often had. She knew our parents overlooked everything I built and had used their neglect as proof that I did not matter. When she found out what my job actually was, her first feeling had not been pride. It had been anger that I had built something entirely outside her reach. She admitted she had confused attention for love and protection for something she was simply owed. I read her letter twice and put it away in a drawer. I did not call her, and I did not promise anything close to reconciliation. Forgiveness given too quickly can become one more way of shielding someone from what they actually did. Reagan needed to sit with responsibility without immediate comfort from the person she had once tried to sacrifice. My parents reached out through relatives after that. My mother said the family needed to heal. My father said public embarrassment had punished everyone enough already. Neither of them apologized without also handing me a reason to excuse them. I sent one message back to both of them. I will not take part in healing that requires me to forget what happened. I will consider contact again once each of you can take responsibility without blaming fear or politics or pressure on me. Until then, please do not come to my home or my office. My father called it cold. My mother called it cruel. I called it a boundary. 6 months later, Reagan accepted a plea agreement that included jail time, probation, restitution, community service, and a long suspension of her voting privileges. Her political career ended with it. None of it repaired Isaac Morneau's injuries, and none of it repaired what was left between my sister and me. Justice rarely gives anyone their old life back. What it does is prove that actions carry weight no amount of influence can erase. My father avoided the most serious charges, but accepted a deal tied to obstruction and false statements. His reputation never really came back from it. My mother was never charged, but the rooms that once treated her opinion as final no longer do. For people who spent their whole lives protecting an image, losing control of the story turned out to be the one consequence they could never manage their way around. I sold the boat once the investigation closed. Some things carry the weight of a single night long after the repairs are finished. I also moved my commission letter out of my office and hung it in the entryway of my own home, not because I need anyone walking in to be impressed by it, but because I had spent far too many years shrinking my own life so it would not make anyone else uncomfortable. The lesson, if there is one, is a simple one. Blind loyalty is not the same thing as love. Loyalty without honesty does not protect people. It protects the pattern that keeps hurting them. When a family asks one person to give up their dignity, their freedom, or the plain truth so someone else can avoid consequences, that is not unity. That is exploitation wearing the word family as a disguise. My training taught me how to read a case file. That night taught me that a boundary is its own kind of evidence. It shows exactly where compassion ends and self-erasure begins. Having integrity does not mean walking away from people the moment they fail. It means refusing to help them turn that failure into someone else's lie to carry. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone you love is step aside and let the truth reach them on its own, without you standing in the way of it. My family thought I had nothing to lose that night. They were wrong. I had a career, a home, a future I had built quietly while nobody was watching. But even if I had walked in with none of that, there was still one thing they never had any right to ask for. My conscience. Reagan's final mistake was believing that years of being favored made her more believable than the sister our family had spent a lifetime overlooking. She thought power lived in donors, in headlines, in parents willing to repeat her version of events. What she learned in the end is that real power can be much quieter than that. Sometimes it is a locked file. Sometimes it is a timestamp nobody can argue with. Sometimes it is just one person standing in a crowded room, refusing to carry a lie one more night. I did not defeat my sister. The truth did. I only stopped standing between her and it. So I will ask you the same question I asked myself that night. If you were me, would you protect your sister, protect yourself, or protect the truth, and what would you be willing to lose to do it? Thank you for spending this time with us. This story is a work of fiction, created for reflection and entertainment. If it stirred something in you, if it reminded you that being let down by someone you trusted does not mean you should stop trusting your own instincts, then it did exactly what it was meant to do. Until next time, take care of yourself and take care of the truth too. Want to be notified when Claude responds?